So, as of the date of this recording, TikTok is still set to be banned January 19th.
Okay.
And so, I kind of wanted to talk today about how much does social media play into real estate. And then I've seen some interesting things on social media lately regarding real estate. Somebody had posted like looking for recommendations for a realtor, and some guy was like, I sold my house by myself and I still gave commission to the buyer's realtor and she just took care of it all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think that's how that works. And so you have people that like, will put their opinions out on social media and then think that, they're going to save money by doing it themselves, and that they're going to it's all going to fall on the realtor of the buyers. And that's not really how it works. So
We want to clear up some of those.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No worries.
Yeah, and like I know I follow a bunch of realtors on TikTok that aren't even around here. Like I love looking at New York City stuff and just different parts of the country that's so different.
Yeah.
And especially right now with all of the wildfires in LA that's wiping out all of these Malibu mansions, which are currently happening as of the time of this recording.
Yeah. I mean, so many things as you start rattling off. I mean, that's the thing. There's so many ways that real estate, realtors, and our association are really involved with the communities that we serve, so that when there is this devastation, just like there was with the hurricanes, and you had North Carolina that was ravaged, not even expected, but all of that happened.
Yeah.
The Realtor Association, we have relief foundations that we pay money into so that we can support those communities. So not often is that talked about or realized by people, and it's not even a part of, like, you can't even allocate a certain percentage of what you pay is going into this. But understand that those of us in the real estate industry that do this, as our career, our living, we're in it not for the quick, easy, would be nice, but we know it's the long haul, and we know that we have to be there for our communities through the good and the bad. Our community's been ravished by tornadoes, so we know that has been there.
Yeah.
Our Realtor Association came through with money donations to try to help support that. But, the thing that people don't realize, whatever side you want to be on as far as pro or con about the environment or about economics or about the political side of things, it still comes back down to that human compassion, right? We did our emergency preparedness podcast where we were talking about these things after all those hurricanes. And now we have another episode of where really compassion is needed for the people that are lost. I know I've seen things on social media where people are like, well, who cares? It's a $3 million house. They probably don't need insurance or anything.
But the problem is some of these houses people bought in the 70s and 80s for $400,000 that are now worth several million. And how do you even get paid out for that?
So there's, again, so many things that come back to this. It's like, what do we want to talk about? So we had insurance on here, so we know that the insurance is a factor. California had, which I did not realize, had a cap that if you had like a $7 million house, you probably didn't have insurance on it for the $7 million. They capped it at $3 million is the number that I heard. So you're carrying the burden of a replacement value of at least $4 million. And here's the thing, if that was the value at the time that this happened, construction cost, going back in there, just like our area suffered.
Especially when
it's going to be more.
20,000 homes are being built at the exact same time.
Yeah. So we were already talking about housing inventory. We were always already talking about higher prices. We were talking about the build time, the zoning requirements, all the things that go into this. You cannot just snap your fingers and this all come back.
Right.
So it is a tragedy and it is sad, regardless of who the person is who lost it, whether they're an actor, actress, or just a regular person, right? It is still an impact. And what you don't realize, and I think I shared that I had lost a home to a fire. I know. It is everything gone in an instant. Can I sit back and say, if I got a warning of, hey, we have danger environment going on, you might want to start thinking about evacuating. I'm going to take the things that I know that I need to take, and the rest of it I know I'm walking away from.
Yeah.
But that is from my experience that I know what I would do. But in the heat of the moment, so many people were lucky just to get out.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
Did
literally
you see
lucky.
all of the cars that people were just
Crazy.
bailing?
Yeah.
And I saw videos of people that were like getting out of their cars and like locking them, and they were just taking bulldozers and pushing these Audis and Porsches and, you know, high dollar cars just, you know,
Off the way, yep.
so that they could get the fire trucks and whatever through.
Yeah.
But, and somebody said like on the video, like, people, leave your keys in your car so that we can move your car.
Right, right. And again, it's the things that you don't think about. And then they're talking about looters and all of this. This is why they were locking up things and doing, and it's like, just take a breath and figure out what is the most important thing to be able to get out safely and to go. So they were talking about they don't have hotel rooms available. They don't have housing available for rentals. There is no way that anybody is building back anytime within this year. Like
Yeah.
the first board will not be put up in a year's time to start building this back. And so what happened when Maui had their fire, which was devastating to Lahaina, they're still trying to figure it out. What are we going to do? How are we going to rebuild it? So your zoning comes in and they have requirements. Are we going to allow what was here? Are we going to go back? Are we going to set standards? You know, we have such a housing glut where we need more housing inventory. Maybe we don't just let single families come back. Maybe we allow multifamilies. Now you're changing the whole dynamics of that Pacific Coast Highway, if you think about it. But what's worse, before you even get to that point, you're going to have the rains that start in the spring, and because now there's no underbrush, because there isn't anything there, structures or otherwise, to kind of stop that, you're going to have landslides. You're going to
Yeah.
have all of this debris. You're talking about rebuilding from structural aspects back before you can even start the rest of it.
So do you know what the percentage of people that are just like, we're done, we'll cash a check and move to Austin, Texas?
Well, and so you will probably have a lot of that, as we saw.
Yeah.
When it takes 2 to 3 to 4 years for the insurance payout process, not even talking about rebuilding, right? But here's what we're going to give you on your property that you lost. You still own the land. You can do with it what you want, but here's the payout of the property, right? A lot of people take the check. And
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's probably greater than 60% take the check. Now, California has a real dilemma because they've had these fires pop up in different communities there. I think this is maybe one of the worst. And I tried to even think, I think it was San Francisco that caught fire back in the 1800s and it wiped it all out.
Yeah.
It takes decades to come back and rebuild from a total
And
devastation.
you know what happens in just a few short years? The Olympics.
That ain't
in LA.
happening. It ain't happening.
So how does that work?
So I don't remember what, maybe it was a COVID reason. There was something where I remember one of the locales were changed for that venue, for the Olympic term that it was going to do that. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to have to move it.
So would another city in the United States get it?
Possibly, or another part of California. But, I mean, that's the least of anybody's thinking about, right? But you
Right.
know.
No. Gavin Newsom has already been on the TV talking about the
Oh.
Olympics
I must have missed that.
and how he already has a team getting ready to put LA 2.0 back together.
Yeah, well, if he can do it in that time frame, kudos to him.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think we have a lot of communities that have shown where it takes a long time. Like after Andrew, Irma, all of the big name storms and things. We
You
know
still
it's
have
still
how many people in North Carolina that are sleeping in
exactly,
tents?
exactly. I mean, it's great that we have the willingness from the federal government to come in and do what they can to help and everything. It's good that you saw FEMA there right away, but the reality is there's not a lot that can be done until it's stopped. So the fires are still going on, and again, I would say, I would feel for the person who, regardless of their economic status or anything. It is a traumatic process to go through, to lose absolutely everything in a blink of an eye. You can't say goodbye in that time frame, and you really have to walk away and just be glad you were able to walk away. I think the last I heard is 16 or 24 as to the death count, and I'm sure
I think it was
that
24 today.
that number is probably still going to go up. When you look at the images, and we're not even talking about the animals, you know, that have been caught in this, there's just, what do you do? Where do you go? It is really, really a tragedy. And we'll circle back, because I really think the driving force here is that we have to have, insurance isn't always going to be able to be that magic bullet. But if people are paying a premium for insurance benefits, then when you need it, you expect that to come up, step up, and do what you expected, right? If you sell me an insurance policy and I now find out, well, we're only going to cover you for the $500,000, we're not going to cover the other $5 that you need. Well, why was I paying on this premium? And it doesn't matter if I just got the policy, waited the year, whatever, or I've been paying on it for 20 years. I still have an obligation, or at least an expectation, that this is what I'm going to get out of it, and it's going to be taken care of. This is where people are going to find out really what was their policy for and what's covered.
Well, I've heard that like State Farm and Farmers all canceled a bunch of policies due to like governmental restrictions like a month ago.
Well, and that was the thing. They were talking about that a lot of the insurance had pulled out of California. We're seeing them start to pull out of Florida. So if these are
insurance
states...
is still a business, so I understand that they have to be profitable and they have to report to shareholders. If something's not profitable, there's not going to be any money in the back to pay for those claims.
Right. So that's where then they do the handout from the federal government. Like we need the government to assist in this type of a thing, which then is really just coming out of our pockets as the taxpayers. So yes, can we get some accountability to what's going on? That would be great. You know, really, what has the insurance collected and what have they paid out? What's legitimate, you know, and where are you losing money and why? Because I mean, I know you're pulling in the money, so what are you doing with it? And it gets down to really greater than our pay scale, right? And we were going to talk about social media, but I think what we hear and really what we get in today is that we get a lot of different perspectives and thought-provoking, I didn't think about that, because we have social media access, whether it's somebody venting, going off, or somebody making, you know, a meme or a mean post or whatever. It gives you that another idea as to what is really involved with this.
Like the conspiracy theories too.
The conspiracy theories, and you know.
My aunt is convinced that these fires were started on purpose for a land grab.
And that's what they said after Lahaina. And there still hasn't been an answer. There still has not been an answer from the Lahaina fires as to what was the provocation of that, what caused it, why were these things that should have been the systems in place, why did they fail? Same things that we're hearing about in California. What do you mean the water hydrants don't have water? What do you mean we didn't have water in the reservoir? We've got the freaking ocean right there. Are you telling me we can't put out a fire?
Have you seen the videos, though, of the planes?
It's ridiculous.
Those pilots are phenomenal at their job.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And the firefighters who are going in there. Like, you know that blazing heat, when it's melting everything, that's just crazy.
Well, did you see that they're using a lot of inmates?
Yeah.
As firefighters?
I don't disapprove that.
Yeah.
I saw where we have people coming from other countries, up from Mexico. We've got firefighters from all around coming. And this is where, you know, their hero badge goes on, and it's a great thing. But it also emphasizes, if you start talking about a full-on, big-scale tragedy event that takes place, can you really adapt for it? And are you really able to serve your community that you should be? It's great Gavin Newsom comes out and talks sometimes. But, you know, if you don't have an answer, then you need to be honest about that. And if you're going to check into something, I would rather somebody say they don't know what or how, but we're going to get into this, than come out and give me an answer, and then 2 days later I hear, now you're going to do an investigation. Well, you gave me an answer.
Yeah.
So that's where I lose faith in what I'm being told, and I just want the confidence that you know what you're doing,
Right.
that you're going to address the situation, because I can't do it on my own. You couldn't do it on your own. But together we can maybe do more.
Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit of why social media was started, was that together we could do more. We can have our voices heard. We have an easier way of communicating, getting a point across, sharing, right? And whether that's good for our mental state or it damages our mental state. I guess that's all a matter of perspective. But the last thing we want is to feel like we are restrained. I'm a big girl. I can decide if this is something that I want to participate in or watch.
Right.
Or if I want to use it for my business. Is it right for what I want to do? And TikTok is one of those things where people have gone all in, or they just generally look at it over time or whatever, or they don't do anything with it at all. But that doesn't mean I need the government to come in and shut it down. Now, if you're telling me that there is a greater risk that I don't really know about,
Then release it.
then tell me the details of that.
Yes.
Because the other thing that I have seen, and you get these messages about, make sure you're changing your text provider, that you're not sending text messages this way, that you need to send them this way. If you are telling me now that my text messages are in jeopardy, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you, you probably need something more important in your life to do than think about my text messages, because
Right.
it's all going to be real estate or travel.
All of the memes about my Chinese spy and me are breaking up, and like, he's probably so bored because it's just like recipes that I'm saving. I think are hilarious, but
Yeah. But
there are
you
a
say
lot.
that, and we get these warnings, and then we've got all these huge ass drones flying over different cities and our military bases, and it's like, not a big deal. And I'm thinking, what world am I living in? Like,
Right.
you're telling me to change my text message provider, but you're not worried about the damn bus size drone flying over.
So I think it comes down to our government overclassifies everything, and even our president's schedule could be classified. And I think that is a problem. So the new administration that's coming in 1 week from today says that they're going to not overclassify everything. So we'll see. Hopefully, we find out what's going on with the drones and
Well, it's just like with your kids.
things. Yeah.
Sometimes it is, do it because I say you do it. That's just the way it is. But other times, as a parent, you learn that the more that you can explain, rationalize, when it's the right time, right? When it's the right
but
environment.
We're also all adults.
We're talking about adults. That's a difference, yes.
Yeah. Just because you were elected and you had money to run a campaign does not mean that you get to know all these secrets.
Right. But I think more importantly that we, the people, you are accountable to us. Like, I should be able to ask these questions and get these answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm not going and selling this information. But you want more tax money from me, you want approval from me in order to do these other things, well, then I should be able to have some insight into
Right.
these things so that I can make an educated, informed decision.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I'm just going to say, I got it. You do you, take care of these things because I have confidence.
Yeah.
But as soon as I lose that confidence, no, I'm going to ask some questions, and I want to see some accountability.
Yep.
I don't think it's
totally
any
agree.
different.
Yeah. So one of this kind of goes into conspiracy theories, as they're called, is I listen to podcasts. I listen to Sean Ryan and I listen to Sarah Adams right before New Year's. And then we have the New Orleans terrorist attack, which she called. And then you have the guy that blew up himself in the Trump Tower bombing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was all like found out and predicted through podcasting. And Sarah Adams has been talking about this kind of stuff for 14 years,
Yeah.
or 12 years, since 2012. And nobody would give her a voice. And then Sean Ryan finally gave her a voice and it blew up.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But
He caught fire. No pun intended.
yeah, right.
We caught.
But I think that is a positive of social media, is that it does give the voice to people that aren't on the news.
Right.
Or aren't, being, what's the word? Like, accountable to some big corporation.
Right. And it's not your traditional legacy media or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a real experience for podcast providers. I mean, like, we'd like to be your number one podcast, but we get it.
Yeah.
We're talking about very small scale of things. But the perspective is that when you say something and it resonates with someone and it's now out there, they have easier way to find it and get it and then follow you, like, or whatever. But it also may allow for a bigger conversation to take place. And that's really what it's about. That's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
You may not be buying a house from me, but if you're going to come to this area or have questions about this area, maybe I'll be that phone call for you,
Yeah.
Ellie and I'd be happy to meet with you and have lunch or drink or whatever,
Right.
and then we'll let you know. But this does share, our insights and our personalities, so that somebody from the comfort of their home or their car or whatever, hey, that might be a person that I could connect with and see some, what do they think about this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always just about real estate, because we always get off topic and talk about everything. But
Right. So
it is.
So with your experience as a realtor, and what social media platforms do you use, and which ones do you see the best return on?
Yeah, the biggest one is Facebook, just simply because obviously it's been around the longest and had the most impact. They've done a lot as far as being able to set up different groups and neighborhood stuff, and whatever you want to do, you can really get in there with that dynamic. I kind of come from I don't want to be just out there for everybody, because I can't handle everybody, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I have within my feed of that, those things that are positive and encouraging and informative for me, one, from a personal perspective, and for my business, for me to be able to disseminate information that would really help somebody else, right? And then from there, I'm not going to spam, blow up people through the social media marketing or anything like that. I just don't buy into that. Have I? Yes. Have I done some boosted programs and things like that? Of course. But it's
I could see that, like, if you're trying to sell a house on a time frame.
Yeah. But it's just that you just don't want people to get tired of always, I know I'm that way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this yet again. Let me
Yes.
turn it over. So I'm kind of considerate in that respect. Of course, I've got LinkedIn. And again, that's more business centric, business to business type of thing.
Have you ever gotten a client off of there, though?
I have gotten a client off of there, and I get clients off of Facebook. I've got Instagram. I don't know that I've really particularly gotten clients from there, but I have people tell me all the time that that's where they're hearing of our podcast or anything. So you never know where the person that you're connecting with is getting it.
Yeah.
So that's why there is reason for social all around. Of course, I have TikTok. I just haven't done a lot with it. I've got an associate fellow person who's pretty big on there, and that's maybe my turn off of it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. This was more of a get out there, out of my comfort zone and do something that I feel comfortable, because we do it the way that we do.
Yeah.
You don't want to see me out there dancing around and doing stupid things or anything like that. Even though we may get more views, I'm just not willing necessarily to do it. No, I'm not going to be a mermaid in order to get the views. I'm sorry. I will, however, travel and share that. And if that gets more views, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So those are my experiences with the social media. It really, whatever is going to work, whatever works for you, and then those clients that you really are trying to connect with.
So when you talk about Facebook, do you have a Facebook group that's private, that's people that you have sold houses to or potential?
I do. I have, and my people that I have, I have created friendships with a number of my clients, and that just goes beyond any of these social medias. That's a text message, and at any time, and it happens. And when I have things going on in my life, they're there for me, and when they have had things going on in their life, I'm hopefully there for them. Certainly, definitely want to be. that was the thing with the tornadoes. It was like, oh my gosh, all of the people that I know where I've bought and sold houses with them, I'm thinking, when my mind is racing. So it is kind of one of those things that you make those connections and it exceeds the limits of what social media does.
Yeah.
It might be an easy way for people to keep up with and track things that are going on, but they still know how to get you.
Yeah. I think I'm not a fan at all of the whole banning of TikTok.
Yeah, I wonder that.
And because you don't really know which, they say it's because of secrets and, data being leaked. Okay, but is it because a different social media platform donated more? Because we know money talks.
Right.
Is it really that, or is it that there is something that we don't know?
I think the bigger question is if you're telling me that's the reason why you're going to take these steps against that particular company, whatever it is, then why haven't we taken those steps against other companies that we know have done things against our people or against humanity, or if you start
Snowden
getting into
told
things.
us what our own government was doing. Now he lives in Russia.
I mean, that's the whole thing. And again, if you're going to make these decisions for us, then you have to give us more information, right? Because then it makes reason and rationale sense that that's what this next step is.
Yeah.
But just like we've heard Zuckerberg come out and say that, he felt like he had been pressured and they were effectively censoring the Facebook. And I mean, I know I had people who were saying, hey, my post has been taken down. I don't know what I said, but it's a real thing that's out there. Even YouTube.
But he did it for however long.
Yeah.
And then now when he needs to conform to all of the people that are in charge of the government in a week, now all of a sudden, oh, my bad, I was forced to do it. Bullshit.
Yeah. And that's where I think the accountability comes into play.
Yeah.
You are a publicly traded stock company, right? Facebook's on NASDAQ, right? So I think that means that there's a little bit more accountability that should have been held. Feet to the fire. Why is this happening? I don't have to like everything that you say or think, and I can tune you off if that's what I want to do. But if the government says, hey, we don't like these two gals sitting out there talking about this stuff and we're just going to take this down, I'm sorry, but you have to give me the reason why my stuff is coming down. Like, you can't just turn it off. That is censorship. If I personally have to look at maybe something that I do find offensive because it's someone else's First Amendment right to do, then you don't get to shut me down just because you don't like what I'm saying.
Right. You just keep scrolling.
You just keep going, right?
Or don't get on the app.
Or
read a book.
exactly.
Watch TV.
Click the channel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're doing with our news channels is we're clicking them off because we figured out, hey, maybe I like podcast talk better. Maybe I like the reality that there isn't somebody controlling the narrative of it.
Right. And the larger podcasts are killing ratings of the legacy media.
Yeah. I think legacy media is going to have to either make a major turn or they're done. And, news isn't delivered the way that it used to be delivered with Walter Cronkite, was it? And it was just the facts. It was just the story. It was no personal. And now you have all those shows where everybody sits and they're talking and they're doing all this stuff. And it's like,
well, even like
where's the journalism?
60 Minutes when they edited the interviews during the presidential election, like that goes against journalistic standards.
Right.
Period.
Right. Again, you may not like what I say or how I say it, but at least I have the freedom to say it and you have the freedom to listen or not.
Yeah.
But if I come in and I start switching it all around so that depending on who's listening to me is going to hear what they want to hear, that's a problem.
Right. So I'll leave it with this. I saw the funniest TikTok and it said, just let me watch my Chinese app on my Chinese phone, wearing my Chinese clothes, sitting in my Chinese car. There it is.
Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.